Hey, everybody, welcome to Ask Me Anything from the St. Paul Restaurant Resiliency Project. I'm here today with my friend Oundo from Rafiki Coffee and Cafe. How are you doing today?
I am doing great, Jonathan. Thanks for having me here today.
It's really great to have you with us today. We're going to be talking with Ian about marketing with Square. And his business does a really great job of this. They've used Square, I think, ever since you've gotten started up, right?
Yep.
And you figured out how to make it work. And so we want to share your experience with everybody else.
Yes.
So it'll be fun to go through.
Yes.
Just a couple of reminders for folks that the St. Paul Restaurant Resiliency Project utilizes tools, methods, and expertise to implement inclusive digital audits across the city of St. Paul and a technology support program that delivers support to businesses like Ian's and others, and also provides the city with ways of targeting their additional support for various sectors of the city. This AMA webinar, Ask Me Anything, is both a webinar and a technical support service for St. Paul restaurants. And so you can go to ncxt.co/RRPAMA to submit a technical support request if you're a restaurant in the city of St. Paul. We'll be happy to connect and help you out with some first level tech support. We'll also hopefully be able to have a conversation with you like this and show others what you've done. So they can follow your lead and learn from you. And of course, this is offered to St. Paul restaurants at no cost. So let's talk a little bit about your restaurant. Just where are you at? How'd you get started? Tell us about Rafiki.
Well, first of all, again, Jonathan, thank you so much for having me. Rafiki in itself is a Swahili word that means friend. And myself, I'm originally from Uganda. My mom's from Kenya. I lived in Minnesota since 2005. So I've been a Minnesota resident for a while. And really, Rafiki comes as a result of my love for service and community. I grew up cooking. And so I always knew that at some point I wanted to own some sort of service-based business. And I'm really happy that today, not only is Rafiki Coffee and Cafe a reality, but I get to do that in St. Paul. And for me, that's an amazing thing.
Well, and you have an amazing presence here in St. Paul too, because you have your cafe, and we just had the map up again. What's the address?
The address is 540 Fairview Avenue, Suite 101, right here in the historical Griggs building, actually. That's apparently this building has been here for a very long time for those St. Paul residents. So yes, if you're on University and Fairview, right across from the Goodwill, actually, you can find us.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in this area. University and Fairview, it's a great spot, plenty of parking. You just expanded into this room that we're in right now, and this is an event space, right?
It is. It is. Yes, when we first started, which obviously, we've had the great pleasure and opportunity of working with you from the get-go, even to get us to where we are today. As you recall, we were in the adjacent room where the coffee shop and everything is, which is about 800 square foot of space. And we recently just expanded into this almost 750 square foot space, which is not only part of the coffee shop, but also is a multi-purpose room that we use for, community members and residents can actually now use this space as an event space for anything that they want to use. We've already had several of them that have happened here. But I think the great thing about this room also is that we get to do, something that I really is close and dear to my heart as well, which is what we call the Arts, Cultural, and Community Days, which is an event that we do here as Rafikis that gives us the opportunity to bring the community together around art, culture that is so diverse here in St. Paul, but also bring the community together. So a lot of things happen in this room.
Absolutely. Well, it's a really great space to have. And, I felt a little bit out of the loop. Just a little bit until I got an email from Square that told me that you had this space. Your Square system sent me an email saying this space is open and to come and check it out. And I think you can rent it or you can plan an event here. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah.
You use Square for a lot. Ian takes advantage of everything Square has to offer. And Why is that so helpful for you? Why is it helpful to have Square as your point of sale? Plus, it can do all these other things.
So I think I remember when we first started, like any other small business, we did our due diligence, looked at all different kinds of POS systems.
We're talking about Toast, right?
Right, yeah.
About Toast, yeah.
We thought about Toast and so many others that are out there that are great. But one thing that you find is that not every POS system is right for every restaurant or every business.
Yeah.
So you really have to find a POS system that fits your needs and what it is that you're trying to do. And we zeroed in on Square, and I'm glad that we did. We've been really happy with it. And Square is not just a POS system.
Okay.
Square is a POS system. It is an opportunity for you to connect, I think, with your customers.
Yeah.
The different features that they have and the different tools within the POS system itself allows us not only to do business and transactions at the counter, but also stay connected to our customers and our guests outside of that transaction that happens at the counter.
Yeah, so you have the ability to stay connected. Is this social media? Is this emails, text messages? How are you staying connected?
So we're staying connected in all those different ways.
Oh, really? Okay, good.
Through the POS system and the different tools that Square allows you, if you tap into that. And I think that's the most important, piece here is the tools are available. The question is, are you tapping into the tools? You can do texting.
Okay.
You can do email. You can do social media. You can do pretty much everything through the system itself.
Okay.
And we do all those things.
We do. You say we do. Who does? Are you doing this, or is your team doing it? How do we get somebody texting through the Square system?
A lot of these pieces are automated pieces, but you still have to tell the system what to do and how to do it when.
Yeah.
And so I use the word we because at the end of the day, it's a team effort.
Yes.
I have a team. I don't do this by myself. I would be lying if I said that somehow I'm in all different locations. So
Yeah.
we creatively as a team think about how do we use responsibly, and I think I should use the word responsibly, the data that we have at our disposal to communicate with our customers in a way that does not make you feel like, we're overbearing.
Yeah.
Right. And so what we're doing is when we send a text message out to you, when we send out an email to you, it is because that information is important information for you to know. Right.
And your team knows the information is important to me.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. And so when we're thinking about this, what are we, for example, in this room, when we were getting this space ready, maybe you've gotten 2 emails about this. Maybe.
Yeah.
Right. And I think from our responsibility, how we're utilizing data, you don't need more than 2 emails from us to know that there is a space. Once you get that 1-second email, hey, we have a space. The tool has done its job, right? From a data perspective, we respect the fact that we have your data. We respect the fact that we also utilize the data to keep you updated, to know what it is that we're doing, which in return, as a customer, makes you a better customer because you know that now that's a service that we have.
Yeah, well, that's very helpful for me because I need to use spaces like this every now and again. And I also drink coffee, and I like to use that space too in the cafe and everything that it offers. And I think about some other ways that I've seen marketing coming from your team here. And I'm really interested in, I want to talk about the technology part of it, but I do want to talk about some of the dynamics on the team. So are you all having a meeting to talk about the types of messages that you want to send or the promotions? Like, how does that all come together?
So we always think through things as a team.
Okay.
From the menus that we have, from the messaging that's going to go out. Ultimately, I still, have to make a decision as to what that's going to look like. But we do talk as a team. What do we want to share? What do you think we want to share? Because the team is also a consumer at the same time.
True.
right? So while
Great
we're-
thinking.
I'm a consumer at the same time. So we want to think about that holistically as a team so that even the team itself understands the messaging that's going out there. So when you show up to the shop, I may not necessarily be there, but the team is in the loop on what's going on.
Mhm.
And so it's important for us to talk through things as a team and then make decisions as a team before that information goes out.
Yeah, yeah, well, and your whole team's conveying the brand to any customer who comes in here. So it's nice to have, I guess, a team the size that it is and with the type of culture that you've built in your restaurant that allows you all to come together and make sure that the experience people have in the cafe is the same as what they see online, because sometimes that's different and that's not a winning situation. Right? Yeah. So when you're doing an email promotion, what are some of the things that you want to promote? Like, promote the space? Do you promote certain menu items? And when you do that, what does Square tell you about the promotion? Do they give you any feedback about how it's going?
Yeah, so we obviously pick and choose what type of promotions we want to run, whether it's menu items when we, for example, I think one of the promotion that went out was when we had our refreshers.
Yeah,
right?
I saw that one. No one's
Yeah. So when we had our refreshers, that was another really very specific item on a menu that we were bringing online that we felt was a good thing for the customers to know.
Yeah.
When that data or that information goes out, not only does Square give us the feedback of how it's being consumed
Mhm.
by the customers and our
Like, is
guests,
they reading it on their mobile, email?
you will get a breakdown from an analytical perspective of exactly how that information is being consumed, whether it's being consumed on a mobile device, whether it's being consumed on a tablet, or
Yeah.
whether a regular computer. But what it also does is it also gives you a secondary kind of secondary feedback where it tells you this particular promotion that just went out, this is what that promotion did in terms of sales.
Hmm. Yeah,
Because it tracks, it will tell you exactly how much of that was consumed and how much of that turned into a return customer that came and either bought something at the shop and how specific that was.
and I think the way this works is that we have a phone number and we probably have a credit card as well.
That's
So
tied
that's tied
to
to
the
it.
customer. That is-
So we know who got the message, we know who got the email. And then when they see another transaction for them, where
They
they
can
say,
time Yes.
it doesn't go down to the menu item that they got a refresher, do we get that granular, or is it just that they came back and bought?
It really does. I'll
Wow.
give you an example. So for Mother's Day,
Yeah.
we ran a promotion specifically on gift cards.
Great.
And Square was able to come down to the specifics of that particular promotion that went out. This is how many gift cards were bought. And on top of that, this is how much of those gift cards have been used in your system.
Excellent, yeah, that's pretty precise.
Pretty precise.
Yeah, and that can help you plan and for next Mother's Day.
This is correct.
Or we have days that are similar to that we can plan ahead. Maybe you might try this on Father's Day or a day before going back to school or kickoff of sports season or anything like that.
Correct.
So I'm a little curious around the types of messages you said, because you said you sent 2 emails, that's about what you sent. You send these up in like scheduled email send sequences that go out 2 or 3 at a time that are kind of planned, or do you have to go into the system each time and send it?
So we have there are different ways that you can use those tools. You could, which for any small business that is trying to scale up or like ours, right? We we're not a big business. We're just starting out. So
We started in, no,
we started in January,
January.
January 30th. So we're
Yeah.
about 6 months. This is our 6 months that we're
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you for the work that you've done to help us really get going. But you can automate some of these that are pretty basic. Customer comes in, uses, buys something, uses the POS system. About an hour later, you get a text message from me
Yeah.
saying thank you.
Mhm.
That's an automated message that I can run consistently and very precise and delivers results every single time that I don't have to keep tabs on,
Right.
because it's an automated system that Square will allow you as an additional tool, which I would encourage any small business using a POS like Square to really tap into that. It keeps that relationship with me and you as a customer, and me as as Rafiki. You get that message automatically. That makes you a little bit more connected to me.
Absolutely.
Right? On top of that, a week later, you're gonna get an email,
Mhm.
if that, depending on how we set things up, telling you, hey, you know what? By the way, thank you so much for coming the other day. Here's $5 or $2 or $1, whatever you set that up for. How about you come back?
Yeah.
We really appreciate your business. So it's almost like a progression of building that relationship, but in a very responsible way. And I really want to reiterate the word responsible. If I send you a text message, which I think is a good idea, an hour after you've been in saying thank you, not telling you anything else, but just thanking you for being here. And then a week later, not 2 days later, a week later, I say, hey, there's $1 for you to come in. So now we've gone from thank you to, hey, can you come back?
Yeah.
Right? There's that you can do within the system itself.
I like the pacing of how you do that, because it's building a relationship.
That's correct.
And it's not saying what this relationship has to be like, or that I'm going to dominate this relationship, or that this is transactional and someday you're gonna check and you're gonna get something that interests you. But you're being very intentional around, let's be thankful, express this gratitude, let's send another invitation back out. Let's keep this conversation going.
I'll tell you something that we truly believe here at Rafiki Coffee and Cafe, and it is a saying that we have. It's a saying that goes, Rafiki Coffee and Cafe, come for the coffee, leave as a friend.
That's great.
That is something that we truly believe as a company, and I want that to be felt throughout all different ways that we're doing business, because to us, this is not a one-time and done kind of transactional thing going on. This is a relationship that we're building from the day that you walk in, and then we'll figure out how do we make you, because at the end of the day, I tell people, you're going to buy coffee 1 million because you drink coffee.
Yeah.
So for us, it's not worrying about you buying coffee. For us, it's about how do we build that long-term relationship that makes you feel like you're part of the Rafiki Coffee and Cafe family. And that includes respecting you as a person. And so because of that, we're intentional about how that messaging and how that information is brought to you and how you consume it.
Absolutely. Yeah, check here to see if we have any questions or anything coming in on the chat. We do have some questions coming in about how do I go about utilizing my website platform to reach customers and grow my customer base? What components do you think about? Great question. Thank you.
Yeah, a couple of things that we've done. One is before I answer that question, one of the things that we've also been very intentional about as a small business just starting up, there are certain tools that, and I see this a lot with other small businesses, is we worry, which we should, right? We're cooks, we're chefs, we're baristas, we're right, like we want to make the best coffee we can make. We want to make the best meal we can make. We want to do all those. The other thing that we find ourselves doing is forgetting what I call the business of the business.
Interesting. Yeah. What's that?
The business of the business is saying, I'm going to have a great cup of coffee, but how do I make sure that Jonathan understands that I have a great cup of coffee? Is by thinking about the different tools that are at my disposal. One of them, number one, I would imagine, and I would actually say, you've got to have a good website.
Yeah. Definitely.
There's a lot of times that small businesses will overlook that very simple but critical piece of the business of your business.
Right.
The first thing that you do when you think about Rafiki Coffee and Cafe is search.
Yeah.
When you search, customers have to be able not only to find you on social media, but they need to be able to find you on your website. And a website is also not just a way for you to come and say, hey, what items do you have? It's a credibility tool.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
When people cannot even find you with a website, people start thinking, well, what kind of business is this? They don't even have a website. So that's the first thing. When you understand that you got to have that, then you start to understand. I mean, technology is so advanced these days, you can literally integrate anything with the tools that you have. We've integrated POS system Square is integrated within our system on our website, which is also integrated with Google.
Yeah.
Right. And so to answer part of that question, and I'm sure you probably answer it too, is that you need to make the website user-friendly for your customers.
Absolutely.
By integrating some of the other tools, depending on the tools that you're using to kind of grasp and connect to your customers.
Yeah. And I like how you're saying that there's like three components that you have plugged in together, integrated. You want your customer experience to be seamless, the brand and the feel to look the same everywhere they experience you. Right. And that's part of what you lose when you don't have a website at the center of it. If you're outsourcing that Facebook or Instagram or wherever else, you're really letting those platforms control a lot of your brand and a lot of that feel, and you can control everything about Facebook or everything about Instagram. It's a great outlet to get pictures out there and a great outlet to engage, but at the core of this, we got to have a website that kind of controls the look and feel. So I like that you pointed that out, because I do see plenty of restaurants that will go for a long time on a Facebook page. And while that's awesome that you can stay in business and you can have customers and maybe a loyal following by doing that, you're missing a pretty accessible way of expanding and growing the business. And like you said, making it more legitimate. And there's a lot of folks who've had very successful restaurants without a web page, but would they be more successful with the web page?
I would say without a doubt. I have a friend that owns a restaurant that has 4 locations. Their presence, the web presence is so cool, but they do great business. I mean, they have 4 locations. They do great business. To answer your question, would they do more business? Absolutely, without a doubt, right? They would do more business. And so one of the things that I've done is, again, our value system is, how do you build, how do you empower, how do you always make sure that people, and the people around you are better. So I've talked to them, and recently they've actually started really kind of ramping up their presence online, revamping their website, and it's already showing, right? The other thing that I wanted to kind of go back to the website part with the credibility, that's another way, right? When you talk about the Facebooks and the Instagrams and TikToks and all of that, it's a great gateway, but it should not be the way, right? Because that data that's coming through that you don't have firsthand, right? Kind of in on that data. Right. They control that data, which means they control your customers and how those customers are interacting with you. When you have your website, on the other hand, not only are you building that direct connection and relationship with your customers, you're also making sure that you are retaining that data on your side. From an analytical perspective, I'll also tell you that majority of the customers that interact with us we get more questions, we get more signups, we get more newsletter signups, we get more, what do you do on our website?
Yeah.
Than we do, even though we have growing, strong social media and even call to actions, right? Call
Right.
us, text us,
Yeah.
send messages. People still
Right.
kind of don't. And the reason why the same person that you just told on Facebook, can you call, can you text us, can you message me? And they didn't. And yet they get on your website and the same call to action, call, text, and all of a sudden, not only are they texting, they're also submitting forms on your website. It goes back to how important and centerpiece your website is in terms of credibility.
Yeah.
When people interact directly with your website, they know they're interacting with you. They know their data is safer with you. They're putting their faith and trust in you. They're doing all those things that they otherwise would not do with other platforms.
It's a really great point. And I think another reason to add on top of that, that they don't do on other platforms, they don't slow down. You know,
That is correct.
when you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, you're on TikTok, you've got 5-10 seconds before you go into the next thing. And it's hard to get someone to pause and, be patient about everything else there is to see in the world
That's right,
of
that's right.
TikTok, and to stop and fill out a form and to connect with you.
Right.
You gotta have some really engaging content, top-notch content to make people stop and do that. See, but you can get your brand across without that content, but relying on that interaction you're building on the website, it just doesn't match up.
Right.
We've got another question that came in. I gotta lean in here and read it. How do I find my unique edge as a business? Businesses like Rafiki have more intentional messaging. How did Rafiki think about how they branded the business as what it is today? Can you give some tips for other restaurant owners? You've been so intentional about your branding. We've talked about this for a long time. You've got some things in the works that I know, and I'm not going to spill the beans on what that is.
Yeah.
But you've got the brand in the coffee shop. The brand is really strong here in your event space. How do you think about branding? How did you start? How does that show up in your point of sale?
I think when I think about branding, I think about authenticity.
Yeah.
When you're authentic with how you're trying to put yourself out there, when you're authentic with how you want people to engage and build a relationship with yourself or your business, it really helps you dial down on how that gets out there. And when you nail that down, or when you drill down on that authenticity and the message that you want people to know, which I believe that the owner is the brand.
Yeah.
Because the brand, the business has, in a way, is an extension of you.
So pay attention.
The business is an extension of who you are. When you're authentic with yourself, how do I want people to feel in this space? How do I want, when people walk in here, what's the kind of feeling they get?
Yeah.
Right. I think when people, a lot of people walk in here and they say, man, when we walk into Rafiki Cafe and Cafe, you just feel warm. You feel welcomed.
Yeah.
Because first of all, that's me.
Yeah.
I want people to walk in and feel welcome. I'm a community-based, very centered person.
Yeah.
That's how I do things. And because I want people on my day-to-day to engage with me that way, that's the same way I want people to feel through the brand and the business.
And knowing you, it reminds me of a question that we ask restaurants, and we're helping them set up their brands. One of the things that we ask is, how does this restaurant make your ancestors proud? That's one of the things that we ask about. Sometimes people are like, what does that have to do with my colors and how I'm going to do advertising? But I know it's a question that you've thought of.
Yes, we've thought about that. When you think about our colors, for example, our main colors are green, and Green again is another way for us when we think about how are we taking care of the land, how are we taking care of earth. So our main two colors are green and tan,
Yeah.
right? So you got tan, you got green, you got those colors. Those
Like
colors,
soil and plants, right?
exactly. So those colors really drive the brand.
Yeah.
That's how we want people to feel.
Mhm.
On the other hand, on top of authenticity, one of the things that we did from the get-go, which you're a testament to that, get some professional help.
Yeah, oh, that's a good idea. That's helpful.
Get some professional help. And professional help does not necessarily mean you're paying high dollars.
Right.
Be intentional in how you're seeking help because you don't know everything. Right?
Great.
You don't know everything, and you don't have to know or do everything yourself either. Right? I mean, you're a great resource.
Try to be, thank you.
You're a great resource. You've been an amazing resource to us. We're a great example of being intentional about seeking support and seeking help. The city of St. Paul obviously is trying to help their small businesses thrive. So they have all these resources around the city, within the city, that small businesses should take advantage of. So the authenticity, I think, to help you think about all that by getting professional help, which you did, like others did. Once you have those two together, then the you is gonna come out, right?
Good point.
The you is gonna come out, but it takes authenticity, intentionality, and then seeking professional support.
I see that. Thanks for the kudos they've given us. And I think one thing I just mentioned is that anybody's wanting to do a website, because we've been talking about that, go to ncxt.co/rpama and put in a tech request. We can help. That's a place that we can help. Because one of the things about running a business is the authenticity that you talk about. And hey, I don't know how to do that. Or hey, I'm not the best at that. Knowing that you want to show up and make your ancestors proud in one way or another will let you know that, like, hey, what I would do on my own isn't a reasonable step towards making them proud. I need to bring somebody else in there. And that's part of something just to build into the business and to understand and to be comfortable with and really endear, like you have. That you're working on a few other projects where you're doing the exact same thing, and that works really well for you, and it works well for most people. Right? Okay. Well, I think that we've had a really great conversation so far. I appreciate you spending time with me today, Ian.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your insights with all the restaurants in St. Paul, and for everybody who ends up watching this webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Let's plug your restaurant one more time. Where are you located? What do you have any promotions coming up? I want to hear about that too.
Yeah. And once again, Jonathan, I really want to thank you for the work that you've done. You've been a great resource, partner, support. We started this journey together, and we continue this journey. So I just want to, first of all, thank you so much for just being that voice and that support system. And I definitely want to tell anyone who's out there that if you need support, get to Jonathan. He will help you. So Rafiki Coffee and Cafe again, we are located right here, 540 Fairview Avenue, Suite 101 is right off of the rail off of University and Fairview in the historical Greeks building. You can also find us online, www.rafikicoffeecafe.com. You can find a lot more information about us and what we're trying to do. In terms of promotions, we've got a couple, that I think there's a couple of them. You don't have to talk about them. Just get on our website, find us on social media. You'll find out about them.
You'll find out about it and then come and buy something, and then you'll be on Square, and then you'll get a thank you and some more promotions that keep you coming back.
That's correct.
That's awesome. Well, thank you again. Thank you all for joining us today. Thanks to the City of St. Paul for your wonderful support for businesses in the city, especially restaurants. We'll be with you all again on Ask Me Anything next month. Until then, go to ncxt.co/rpama, put in a tech request. We'll be glad to connect with you there. Take care, everybody.